Hey everybody, I'm so glad to be with you this Saturday morning. I just wanted to check in and see how many of you have been getting outside, maybe getting some exercise lately. It's kind of hard these days to actually get that done. Sometimes it's that there's no uncrowded place. Sometimes it's just that it's too hot. Some days it's raining. Some of you, it's just not safe to even leave your house. You don't know if you're going to run into somebody or not. You don't know how safe it is. You don't even have really access to a mask or any of those kinds of things to stay safer. For me, one of my favorite things to do, and I've been doing this just about every day, is coming to this park here in Fort Worth and walking. It's a really beautiful park. I'm going to post a link to it in the description of the video in case you're curious about it. But the loop that I walk from my house, it's a couple of miles actually. And I've been working really hard on getting 10,000 steps in a day, which is kind of awesome. Because for me, trying to get that time in doesn't always work, especially when things are quote unquote normal. I'm not real great at that. But lately it's been easier to fit in time to exercise and to get that walking in. Part of what's been working for me, you see I've got the headphones in. Part of that is to record this, but I've been wearing the headphones every time. And I listen to these audiobooks. About 5 years ago, I was working for a food bank, and I had about a 30-minute commute each way every day. And so I started listening to podcasts and things like that. And then once I had gotten past my probationary period, I got a raise of $2 an hour, which is about $80 a week pre-tax, which was really nice for the budget and everything. And so at that point, we kind of talked about it, and I decided to treat myself to a subscription to Audible, which if you haven't heard of is a subscription for audiobooks, and I could get a new one every month. So I actually have half a dozen or so from that time period audiobooks that I haven't listened to in a long time. Most of them are not fiction like I talked about last week. I love reading fiction. I love falling into a story. But for audio listening, I actually prefer digging into things that are more motivational and helpful. Several of my audiobooks are by an author named Brene Brown. I'm going to put a link to her website actually in the description because I have found her incredibly helpful along the way. She is a shame researcher, which is kind of amazing that she has spent time digging into that. But I found her writing to be incredibly powerful for me to listen to. The other one that I've been listening to is a man named Goff. And he is kind of an incredible person. He's a lawyer. He is also the honorary consulate to Uganda. He's from the United States. He just started going to Uganda and helping out many, many years ago and has been instrumental in so much change in that country, bringing about so much important ministry and care for the people there, justice work, and all sorts of things. But the reason that I really appreciate his work is he has 2 books so far. The first one is called Love Does, and it's basically just about following Jesus' command to love others and how we walk that, how we work that out in our lives. The second one is called Everybody Always, and I just finished that one recently, listening on these walks. And that book, the brilliance of it is that Jesus commanded us to love everybody, and he commanded us to love everybody always. And he talks about how we have this command, and we're called to do that, and it's sometimes really hard. And he challenges everybody to love the people who are the hardest to love, the ones that are the most complicated and difficult for us to love. And right now in this time period, it's especially important, I think, to pay attention to those things. But for me, listening to those books keeps me moving. It keeps me walking. Coming to this park keeps me moving and walking too because the scenery is always changing. I've loved in the last month watching the leaves come out on the trees, watching the flowers bloom, seeing the birds, and hearing all of the insects in the grass, and just watching people walk their dogs. It's just been fantastic. And people have been amazing. Everybody does the whole swoop off the sidewalk when we meet each other. I step to my right, they step to their right, and we keep the 6 feet of distance between us, so it works out really well. But I wanted to share with you a Bible passage, and I can't figure out how to read it from my phone, but I'm going to try and go back and edit. I've got some film I took along the creek that I walk along, and I'm going to try and read that Bible verse, or maybe even put it over the top. But when I was a kid, my favorite Bible verse was Isaiah 40, verse 31. But those who hope on the Lord will renew their strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. And I loved that verse, which it's sort of funny because running to me is the worst thing ever. And if you see me running, you better start running too, because I'm probably being chased by something. I hate running. I have always hated running. My sister has run a marathon. I think she's run a couple of them actually, and I don't understand that at all. But for me, walking, dancing, things like that are ways that I enjoy getting moving, and I'm willing to do that work and that time to make my body feel better, and it's just good for me. So anyway, I'm getting a little off track, but I'm going to actually share the words of the preceding verses also with you, because I think they're just as important, and it gives some important context to it, that it's God who is the one who doesn't grow weary, and he shares his strength with us. It's not about us on our own power doing things. Most of us are really great at thinking that we fall into the trap of thinking that the old saying, God will never give you more than you can handle, is true. It's not true. God actually does not promise us that. In fact, he promises the opposite, that oftentimes we will be tried to the point where we cannot stand on our own. But it's in those moments that we have to rely on him. So for me, sometimes this walking thing, it's harder than it should be. Sometimes it's really hot, or I just don't feel like getting out. I have trouble with my hips. I have since I was a teenager, and the last few days my hip has really been hurting me, but I'm still out here. I'm still doing my walking. I'm still doing my thing. And it's not because I'm somehow pulling up my bootstraps. It's because I'm relying on God to remind me that this is what I need. So I hope that's encouraging to you, to just turn to Jesus at this time, to remember that he is your strength and your shield. He is the one who will help you in your time of need. God is the creator of all of this beauty. So you can see it's a pretty beautiful park. It's got a really long path. There's also a lot of water, which I really appreciate. So I hope that you can find a place somewhere near you that you can walk and be comfortable and have a chance to relax and be in nature. But if you can't, I hope you can just spend time looking out the window some days and just appreciate all that God has done for you. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you in worship. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next Saturday. Bye.